Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Juggernaut, and these were my first impressions of Star Control Origins. Or, well, it's not really a first impressions video, it's more like a preview, but it's always difficult to name these things precisely and correctly, as it's quite vague very often. At any rate, the point is, I have played this game for a decent bit. I have around 5 or 6 hours in it-ish, and well, so far, I've been very surprised at how good it is. I don't mean that in any negative way, but this game sort of flew under the radar a little bit for me, and I was very surprised to see how much content there is in the game, and how fun it is to go about exploring space. Essentially, this game is what I would describe as a mix of the old Space Rangers games, if you remember those. They were like 2D space exploration games with various factions, quests that you needed to do, a load of ship upgrading, and they even had planet combat in an RTS sort of mode. When you go down, and then you can either defend or attack planets that way, and so on and so forth. And you can also be a pirate, you can be a trader, or whatever. And a little bit of Elite Dangerous, or I can't really say Star Citizen because it's nowhere near out yet, or there's like 0 point something % of features are done for that game, but yes. Sort of like the open world space exploration type games like that. Elite Dangerous mostly comes to mind. Now, I'm going to start a new game for you, and I will, before we do that, I will say that there is a like custom fleet battle designer, or a fleet battle mode. And there is a designer for warships right now. Well, not for warships, but for ships in general. And there will be designers in the future for planets and other stuff like that, but won't very much look into those for this first impressions video, as they are pretty much what you'd expect them to be. The UI is a little bit clunky in those, I will say. The UI in general for the designer seems a little bit... well, it takes some time to get used to, right? I'm sort of used to different styles of design when it comes to, or different UI styles when it comes to ship design, so yeah. At any rate, what we're going to do now is we're going to listen to the intro cinematic, and then I'll sort of explain the basic gameplay on it.
This is originating from where, exactly?
It's local. Triton.
Recall the captain. Tell him that he's needed.
He's still on administrative leave from the incident.
That no longer matters. He's the only one qualified to command the prototype Vindicator.
And here we go. So, name, I'm gonna put my own, yes, I'm gonna put my real name in there. Commander of the U.E.S. Juggernaut. Mission difficulty, let's go with normal. So this is how you start up the game. You're given command of a ship. If this reminds you of the first episode of Enterprise, the new series, you're right. Matter of fact, throughout the entire game, I've been getting a very strong Enterprise vibe. Mainly because you're out there exploring space, pretty much exactly what Star Trek is about. Well, DS9 doesn't really count, but, you know.
The last of the crew and supplies should be coming over to you shortly, Captain. Time to get started. Star Control is ordering you to travel to Triton.
Okay, so, listen, you're the tutorial lady. I'm just gonna get started and I'm gonna explain what the game is about, and,
it's also equipped with our latest
I'm gonna just leave, okay? There we go. So this is the solar system, in case you haven't heard of it. This is the solar system. Say hi. Essentially, this is where you're going to play most of your game out. You control this ship. Well, not entirely. You actually control a fleet of ships. It just so happens that the fleet right now is composed of only one ship. But yes, in terms of ship customization, you have modules that you can fit in it. Various weapons that you can put on, actually 2 slots for weapons, but these can be various weapons that you can put on it. People inside your vessel, these are basically these are commanders and officers, right? And some various types of propulsion system. Later we're going to get hyperdrives and stuff like that. Now, there are also landers, and I will get to that in a second. There is well, a mission to do over there involving a lander, so we're going to get that done. But first of all, you want to go to the training facility, and reason being, I want to run a trial, combat trial, with this ship. Yeah. So, this is sort of the... I want to call it the main element. The main element really is space exploration and diplomacy and stuff like that. But this is one of the more, let's say, prominent aspects of the game, and that is space combat. Now, right now, I have a dumbfire nuke, which makes things a little bit difficult to hit, especially when you're focusing on, you know, not getting blown up. But basically, yeah. Essentially, there we go. That wasn't that difficult. And when you do that, they give you an advanced nuke, by the way, which is kind of the reason why I did it. Throw everything you have at me. I haven't done that yet. Let's see how that looks. And maybe I get some form of reward out of it, too. Alright, one down. Oh, there's a carrier, right? Okay, leave him, go after the carrier. That was one hit. There are also various pickups that you can find in space. In the space battles, that is. One of them is there, and I'm trying to get to it. Get him! No. Alright. What is really cool is that the planets have gravities actually around them, and they actually influence battles. And not just in the way of movement, but they actually influence your ship. And your ship's weaponry is what I meant. So you'll see that if you fire a nuke towards like a planet, it will, if you don't aim straight for the planet, it will sort of bend because the gravity from the planet is attracting it. That's like so there's also like there's these like map features on the map to keep you moving around and stuff like that. Oh, we get point defense, nice. So there's stuff like that to do in Planet, but that's basically like a demonstration of the combat in the game. Now, like I said, you will acquire various ships throughout your quest, and I won't spoil what the story is, and I won't spoil why you're acquiring a fleet of ships, but suffice it to say that you will acquire a fleet of ships. This is also your primary way of earning money and resources. You will find and scan various... Yes, we know. You will find and scan various planets throughout the game, and on those planets you will see various pickups, such as minerals and resources and stuff like that. You will also see biological life. For example, I found a planet of dinosaurs which had several active volcanoes in it, which was kind of very funny to me, but the dinosaurs were absolutely huge. Now, the planets have been scaled down, as you'd expect, because nobody's really going to let you run around for like a few hours to get from one end of the planet to the other. That'd be a little bit, you know, boring, if nothing else. So the planets have been massively scaled down, but the gist of it is you get in your rover, or your lander, sorry, well, hovercraft actually. You get in your lander and you secure resources on the planet. Fairly early on in the game, you will also receive weaponry for the lander. It doesn't have any right now, but you will receive a basic laser cannon for it. And I say basic, it's actually quite a powerful weapon. And you will be able to deal with either hostile life forms that you find on the planet, or drones and stuff like that you might find that have been left behind by one civilization or another. Or you will be able to use that cannon for mining, so you can blow up rocks with it. But yeah, there is a sort of combat element to the landers as well. When you're done, simply hit escape and leave, and you transfer the cargo into your ship, and then you can land again. The landing is actually a mini-game. As you can see, I can control it. It's just that right now the planet is very easy to land on. There's no strong winds, there's no radiation, no interference whatsoever. Some planets, though, and these are usually the ones that have a lot of resources on them, it will require some effort and skill to successfully land. If you don't successfully land, the lander will blow up, and you'll be, you know, you'll have to use another one and try again, or give up and go and buy more landers. So, these are basically the gists of space exploration. Other than, of course, meeting alien species, which I will not spoil because there's a limited number of them, and I don't want to really focus on that in this game, in this video, because, again, first impressions are sort of like an overview of all the features, not basically with minimum spoilers, yeah. So, you will also, and this is like a huge part of the game, is that you will find various ship upgrades, like I mentioned, not just for the lander, but you will find like cargo space increases and stuff like that for the lander as well as for your own ship, but you will find also other stuff like traditional weapons and various modules that make moving around easier or stuff like that, and don't worry, you cannot actually flip the lander. Hell knows I tried. Okay, so I believe we've collected enough resources. Let's go and go make contact with the aliens, who are somewhere on this planet, towards the box thing. Yeah, here they go. Hello. Takes a while to load in, doesn't it? Yeah. Now, I suppose now would be a good time, and actually now would be the perfect time to mention that the game doesn't take itself too seriously. I mean, sure, there is some serious threats out there, and there is some serious conversations to be had, but
You actually came.
game is a little bit lighthearted.
I can't tell you how sweaty we are to see you.
You see what I mean? You're a giant space slug.
And you're a medium-sized mammal. We come in all shapes and densities, human.
Fair enough.
I am Chief Viscosity Officer Rindu of the Tyrone.
Yeah. What are you doing here?
It's a funny story. You'll like it.
I doubt it.
It starts with these guys called the Scribe. They're the ones who shot us down. They're kind of our friends.
Uh-huh.
They hail us. Not great friends, really. More accurately, they are our masters and the rulers of a cruel empire that we are forced to serve.
You don't say.
We're actually trying to protect you from the Scribe.
Well, that's been
began
going great,
receiving
apparently.
your radio transmissions about 50 years ago. You're a fascinating species. And because we knew the Scribe would destroy you if they found you, we've been keeping you a secret from them. At least we were, until a few months ago. The Scribe had evidently... They dropped... We were on our way against the distress call.
Okay, there you go. That's sort of the basic premise of the story. The Scribe are trying to find you and viciously murder you, and you need an alliance to help fend them off. Well, you don't actually need an alliance. You need to find a way to help fend them off, right? That's sort of the TLDR of the game, and that's sort of the basics. Now, let me jump in.
You probably
okay,
should.
just
Now
go away.
it went down on a planet spot.
Yes,
Finding all of this shouldn't be a problem. We'll give you so great.
It'll give us so many hugs. Yeah, okay. Get out of here, and let me jump into, like, a game that is... let's jump into this one. It's relatively early on still. It's a save I've set up for demonstration purposes. And I've been playing it as, the reason it's called the United Federation of Planets, the save file, is I've been playing it sort of, well, to nobody's shock, as the United Federation of Planets, right? So, completely peaceful and diplomatic and all sorts of stuff like that. So this is a couple of hours into the game, when you do actually get hyperspace travel. And this is the entirety of the game map. So, all these different stars you can actually go to, and they're basically solar systems. There's plenty. There's also kind of a limited number. It depends on your standards, it really does, but bear in mind that these aren't as huge as you might think. For example, let's go over to Gamma Uxor, for example, autopilot to there. And you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So they're all more or less like this. They're kind of like our solar system, really. In that, well, you see, There's like 2 planets here and a star. Not all of them are that huge.
Vessel now. You might survive this.
Then we need the vessel to breathe. Breathe, sorry. Who are you?
Gosh, you are shiny and new. We're the Kazanti. As your people will soon learn. In this part of space, you're going
Why, we mean you no harm, said Archer in his innocent voice.
Doesn't matter. We need what you have. We're entrepreneurs, friendo.
Friendo. Wait, maybe we can help each other. We're seeking allies and assistance to fight the
Yeah,
Scribe.
if you're new around here, I bet you are. Look, here's how we feel about the Scribe. Not at all. The Scribe Empire are the worst thing to ever happen to you. They'll wipe out everything you and your people have ever known. But to everyone else in the galaxy, they're a shambling wreck. A slowly unfolding disaster lashing out at everyone they see. Which leaves a lot of opportunity for entrepreneurs such as ourselves. Do you know what's one of the most profitable things we do? Peeking through the bones. So, where do you hail from, friendo? Where your people's bones gonna be?
Go to hell.
Fair enough, we'll just...
Alright, there we go. Now, I have an AI that does battle for me, which was admittedly a mistake. I should not have done that, but the AI is actually kind of competent. And it kind of makes sense because it's a Taiwan ship and I really shouldn't control it. But at any rate, yeah, the Taiwan just beat the enemy for me, and that's space combat unless you control it personally, which I really recommend you do, but yeah. At any rate, you scan a world. Oh, this one seems okay. Something blue on it too. Play a minigame to land, and here we go. Back to the other thing. And oh, here's the laser I talked about. That is an alien, by the way. Now, you can shoot it and kill it, and it does give you resources, but like I said, I'm playing this save as a United Federation of Planets sort of style, and we don't really do that here. That was totally a Black Panther reference. At any rate, it's taken a while, it's taken a few minutes, but I've essentially shown you pretty much everything that there is to do in the game. Apart from the story and the quests. Here's the thing, you will occasionally run into people that will have jobs for you. For example, one of the more common ones that I ran into was go to this system, kill the pirates there, and come back to me. And I'll reward you, and I was very handsomely rewarded for getting rid of some pirates. Now, there is also the main storyline, which is you interacting with all sorts of new species in the galaxy and finding out about them, and so on and so forth. All of this does exist, and there is a large bit of content there for you to play around with, and it lasts for quite a while. The story's pretty damn long, right? And it takes a while for you to gather all the ship upgrades and to get to pretty much everywhere you need to be in order to finish the story. Fair enough. What the hell is that thing? Is that a tornado? Looks like a tornado. Okay. And yeah, the planets themselves have quite a bit of diversity. Some are completely inhospitable, some have giant aliens like this, some have alien ruins like so.
Well, they're very sexy, sir. They're explaining that their ancestors survived a shipwreck hundreds of years ago. They've lived here alone, isolated all this time,
Alright.
which would mean everyone here is related. Mating is, needless to say, complicated. There's a whole system in place, they explain. I'll ask if it's made any harder.
Officer, the first thing you came into contact with these aliens, the first thing you asked was about the mating ritual.
They say. They're asking if they can borrow some of my
How very Star Trek of you. Now,
Yes.
so yeah, like I said, this is like a completely random encounter. It's not a part of the story. This is, like I said, you know, completely random. And there you go. We found a flanking missile that they gave us. It might be busy here for a while. Jesus Christ. Yeah, the game doesn't take itself too seriously. I've also found, and I believe this is my absolute favorite feature in the game, I found a car in space. Now, if you've been following the news recently, you might know what that is a reference to. Suffice it to say, Elon Musk is probably grinning right now, and he has no idea why. But yes, we found, and it's not like it's not my theory. It's actually, I'll show you. Yeah, a crashed Tesla. No idea how this thing... no idea how this got this far out here. Yeah, we found a Tesla car crash somewhere. It's amazing. But yeah, basically, that's kind of it. In terms of like the overarching sort of basic gameplay elements of it. Here, you build a fleet, there's various ships you put into said fleet, and that's about it, right? Now, is the game worth it, and what do I think about it? Well, it lacks, and it's a little bit weird to say something like this about a game like this, which is pretty damn big, you know. Take a look at the map, and take a look at the length of the story and everything. It's a little bit, I don't know. Feels a little bit wrong to say something like that, considering the standard that has been mostly set by AAA games, which is like, you know, a couple of hours of single player, and that's about it. However, I feel like I will be a little bit harsh and a little bit realistic here. The game does lack in some department, right? So the map is fairly big, and I've seen a hint of something more being added, like an entirely new map. Or maybe the same map with the same systems, but like different map politically or in a different timeline. That would be very cool if that was added as either an update or a DLC pack or whatever. That I'd be fine with paying a little bit more for that. Because it does say that the universe's origins, which sort of leaves room for a universe to not be origins, right? Essentially, what that controls is which government, which species controls which part of the universe and so on and so forth. But yeah, that would be very nice if I don't know if that's actually in the game right now. I haven't played it for that long. But if it is, then phenomenal. However, the game is lacking in some departments. Namely, I would like to see more done in terms of ships, right? Because there's a rather limited amount of ships right now. And I understand why, but it's one of those things that's not exactly difficult to do. I mean, for starters, there's a ship designer in the game already, and it works, you know, pretty damn well. So, realistically, it wouldn't be difficult to add more ships into the game and just implement them for the various factions. And you can make your own ships, like I said, but you can't really integrate them into the game and have various factions have access to them and whatnot without modding the game. So what I would like to see are more ships and a little bit more diversity when it comes to the aliens. Second of all, maybe a bit more in the way of interaction on the actual like galaxy map with various aliens. Again, this game has like a decent resemblance to the old Space Rangers games, and I come back to this. By the way, there's my ship in orbit. I don't know if it's just me, but that's like like if I was to grade this game on a scale of 1 to 10, that's like 3 grades extra right there, because that is so awesome to actually see my ship in orbit. That is, to me, that it just gives me some sort of incredible satisfaction. I don't really know how to explain why, but yeah. Plus that I can like drive over the entire planet and like go from daytime to nighttime because you're moving around there. That's all very cool, right? It's kind of fun. It might not look like the world's most fun thing to do. Oh, God, get out. Get out. Don't stay in the storm. Okay. But yeah, like I said, it might not look like the world's most amusing thing to do, but I'm reminded of the Space Rangers games and how much you could do in those games. You had... Well, we can't land this because it's radioactive planet. It's a lot of radiation, and yeah, we can't go there. Not yet, at least, until we get some upgrades. But like, I'm reminded about how much you can interact with like local planetary governments, as well as like the overall government of the species, and how much you could do both in terms of trading and in terms of all those things. And I would love to see more of that implemented into the game, and if it was, I think that would be seriously awesome. To see something like that, I think that would be really great. But you know, if not, then you know, what the hell. It's still a good game. It doesn't make it any. I was gonna say it doesn't make it any worse. It's Or it does and it doesn't. You know, obviously it would be better to have more interactions and to have more ships and like more features like these. But I'm saying that with the caveat that there is a ton of content in the game already. So, okay, well, one more thing, and then we'll talk about the price, and we'll talk about whether it's worth getting it, whether I recommend it or not. Oh, alright, we're being hailed.
Attention! Stop your garbage vessel where it is, and prepare to be destroyed!
Okay, tell us about yourselves.
No one has ever asked that before. We don't have orders for cover in this situation. Rock, this is confusing.
What do you guys do?
We fight and die as needed by our masters, the scribe.
Oh god.
They have told us that the only thing we're good for is dying in battles, and ordered us to do that as much as possible.
Oh god. Like I said, the game doesn't take itself too seriously, and it's fun. It's fun to go and meet these unusual beings. Let's just say it's very fun. Unfortunately, like I said, there's a limited number of them. You know, there's quite a limited number of them, and well, I would prefer more to give this like a more solid recommendation. I'm just saying that I would very much like it if more were added in the future. But yeah, what about graphically? Well, it works. It's like a little bit cartoonish, little bit well, not a little bit cartoonish. It's kind of cartoonish, but graphically the game works. Planets look relatively varied, considering like half of the screen most of the time is like the atmosphere of the planet. But you will find like ice worlds, Terra-like worlds, or Earth-like worlds. You'll find stuff like that. In terms of ships, graphically, they're all pretty much distinct. The ones that belong to various species and so on and so forth. So graphically, the game is like nothing too mind-blowing and impressive, but it works and it's charming and it's stylish. I kind of quite like the art style of the species and everything. Now, the game also pokes fun at itself occasionally. For example, I'll give you and this is relevant because I'm talking to someone right now. This is sort of ties into that. You will notice that I don't want to say all of them, but like 90% of them look exactly the same. Nay, are exactly the same. Graphically, voice actor, everything. And the game makes fun of it itself that way. It is like, do you know, can you believe it that all humans look exactly the same to us? And it's like, yeah, okay. You get the option to, early on you get the option to like, hold on, didn't I just talk to you? Stuff like that. So it is a little bit self-aware, I guess, in that sense, and it does create some funny jokes and some funny moments with regards to that. But yeah.
We think all the time. We are literally doing it right now.
Funny.
We do odds and ends for our masters. Lately, we've been working on their glorious project to eliminate all inferior species.
Why?
Because we were told to.
There you go.
Ranking Command, and by extension the Scribe Empire, have ordered us to kill all aliens with more or less than 3 ears.
You'll notice that they've added a third ear. I mean, that is legitimately hilarious. Are you imbeciles?
We are not imbeciles. We follow orders.
Oh, I love this game.
Very, very well.
Okay, I get it.
If you want to know more, ask Ranking Command. Which you cannot do, because we have orders to kill you before you leave.
Lovely.
So, if you want to know more, deduce it yourselves very fast before dying.
Right. Do you have a homeworld?
Yes, of course. Drankapon lies in the Alpha Uxor system. It is the glorious-looking planet. You cannot miss it.
Glorious-looking planet. Oh god. Yeah, that's about it as far as my first impressions go. I will fight this guy because I have to. There's no diplomatic way of sorting it out. But yeah. So do I recommend it? Well. I actually forgot one small little detail to tell you as well about ship combat, which you could have sort of seen, but I didn't mention it out loud. Ship combat is done one-on-one. So if you don't have an AI, you pick a ship to take into combat with you, any enemy picks a ship as well. You kill the enemy ship, or you lose your own ship, and then, you know, they're basically replaced, right? So if the enemy has 2 ships in their fleet, you kill 1 ship, then the other. It's all one-on-one combat, which I'm not quite a big fan of. I would have preferred if we could, at the very least, control how many there are in any said engagement, let's say. But yeah, that's maybe a thing for the future, who knows. Until then, however, it's like this. Yes, I do. The game is €40, which is, I made a cut there to go check the price, if I'm going to be completely transparent. The game is €40 on Steam, which is, you know, your regional dollar equivalent, whatever, or your regional currency equivalent. So for €40 on Steam, yes, with the caveat that I'm really hoping that there will be more content added and that there will be stuff added in the game, which, I mean, the developers have pretty much said that there will. In terms of the designers missing, there's a couple of things missing like that, so absolutely. Also, I may have neglected to tell you, there is local co-op in this game as well, which is rare nowadays, but it's actually very, very good. From a personal perspective, I am very often on the lookout for like local co-op games because I live in a pretty much a city surrounded by universities, filled with university students, and we play games from relatively often, right? One of the local multiplayer games are great because getting a few people, or getting even one person to buy the same game you have and run it on his PC or laptop or whatever he has is a little bit of a challenge when you're talking to university students. But yeah, at any rate, from a personal perspective, that's very good for me, and I understand that it's not really that much of a common thing anymore, and people don't really do that that often. But yeah, it does have local multiplayer, which is always a plus, and I quite enjoy that. So yeah, there is like a lot of stuff for you to do in the game right now to justify a purchase, and you will have a decent number of hours of fun. With the caveat that there is more coming, I will fully recommend this. If it doesn't end up, if they don't end up delivering, I don't know, like more ship designs or more editors, more stuff like more unlock the planet editor and all that stuff later down the line, it will be a little bit difficult to. Well, first of all, it'll be a bit scummish because it says it's coming soon. But if they do end up unlocking like new universes and stuff like that for you to go to, that'd be really, really great, and then the game will be like phenomenal. But as it stands, it is a somewhat of a spiritual successor to Space Rangers, and Space Rangers is like my absolute favorite space exploration / space sandbox game ever. Well, Space Rangers series, I suppose, because there's several, isn't there? But yeah, it's absolutely great, and I do recommend it. I'm just hoping to see more content be put into the game in the future. But as it stands right now, it is a solid game. If I'd have to like rate it, there's a reason I don't do that. The reason is I don't want to rate a game until I've played like at bare minimum like 30 to 40 hours of it, right? And then I get a really good feeling for what's going on, and get a more sort of objective look or a more sort of thorough look at the game. But so far, I know I'd give it like 8 out of 10 probably from like a first impressions perspective. 7.5, 8 out of 10. Pretty damn good for me. But obviously this is infinitely subjective, so I would recommend that you disregard that, as I haven't played through the entire game and it doesn't really make much sense to listen to that. But you know, there you go. That's about it from me for this video. If you have any questions about the game or whatever, feel free to contact me down in the comments below, or go to the game's Steam page. The link with that will be in the description down below, as well as a brief description about the game itself. And yeah, there we go. That's about it. Thank you very much for watching. Like, subscribe down below if you enjoyed the video, and until next time, have fun, take care, and bye-bye.